Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks so much for hanging out, and today I'm going to be doing another video on EDH Cards Under $1 part 4? 5? I think we're on part 5. We're on part 5. Great. I love filming these because honestly, love talking about budget stuff, love cards that are just really cheap to get. So let's just hop into it. The first card I want to talk to you guys about is Serra's Guardian. I think this is a card, I feel like a lot of times core set stuff can kind of go like under the radar and people like forget about cards like this. This card is awesome. I run this card on my Angel deck and she's wonderful. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's a 6 mana 5/5 flyer. She has vigilance and other creatures you control have vigilance. I don't know why it just didn't say all creatures you control have vigilance. I feel like that would have made sense, but whatever. So it's a really straightforward card, but it's really, really good. Giving your whole team vigilance, excuse me, is really, really strong. Yeah, she's really good and she's under $1, which is amazing. The next card I want to talk to you guys about is Angelic Arbiter, and this card is so incredibly strong and so incredibly cheap for what it does. It's a little bit pricey mana-wise, so getting this out on early stages of the game is pretty challenging, but she does a lot of different things. She's very, very powerful. A lot of people misread this card and think it means you included, which means that you can only attack or you can only cast spells. That's not true. It only affects opponents, which is really, really strong. So the fact that every single person you go against is affected by this card and you remain unscathed, it makes this card really, really strong. And it's one of those things that you really see shift the way people map out their turns, and it really, really throws people off. Very good card. The next card I want to talk to you guys about is such a good green card, and I'm so mad that I wasn't running this card for the longest time, and that is Regrowth. This is such a simple card. It's literally 2 mana to return anything from your graveyard to your hand. Green does recursion pretty well, and this is a really, really good card to run in there, and the best part is it's so inexpensive, and it's only 2 mana too, so it's inexpensive cost-wise, and it's inexpensive mana-wise to like cast this at any point of the game. Great card, great inclusion in like any green deck. And the fact that it's any card too, so it's not a specific card, it's not permanent or anything like that, because there are cards that are more specific. So the next card I want to talk to you guys about is Zulaport Cutthroat. I just love Zulaport. Like, who came up with that? That is so rad. Zulaport Cutthroat, such a good card. It's definitely not as good as its counterpart, which is Blood Artist, but honestly, Zulaport's a decent alternative. It's not as good because, excuse me, it only impacts the creatures that you control dying, but honestly, it's good to run both. Like, I think some people, when they try to compare cards, they're like, it's one or the other. I'm just like, just run both. Like, both cards are still really good in their own right. If you're running black and you're running a bunch of like tokens, if you're running a bunch of recursion, creatures dying and then coming back, like Zulaport's a really, really good option. It's 2 mana for a 1/1. Like, it does a lot of different types of things, and it gains you life, which is really, really nice. And it does hit all opponents, which is awesome. Each opponent. Wonderful. The next card I want to talk to you guys about is Plaguecrafter, and, it's funny, I'm talking about a lot of like, different, like, removal cards and, like, stopping your opponents from doing certain things, and this kind of brings me back to talking about, like, competitive EDH, and how not necessarily everything that you need to buy in your Magic collection to stop really competitive players, and that's not even people who are, like, at the top who try to kill you on turn 3, it's people who just are more competitive by nature. These cards are good, like, alternatives. Like, they're cheap cost-wise for you, and they're also cheap mana-wise. Plaguecrafter's a really good example of this. Plaguecrafter does a lot of different things. I was actually just talking about this in another video, too, and I'm sure I talked about it the time before that, because it's a good card. It's probably the best one of these types, because there's been a couple of different cards that are very similar to this, but it's pretty straightforward. It says that each player, so it does impact you, but you're playing black, so you don't care, and honestly, sacking this for 3 mana, it's fine. You don't really care. You can sack it, and it's a good blocker if it does stick around. You sack either a creature or a planeswalker, so this is really good to stop your, like, fellow planeswalker friend from doing, like, wild things, and if they can't, they get to discard a card. So this kind of, like, stops a lot of different types of things. I like the added, like, discard a card. I think that's really nice to have that if in case they don't have a creature to sacrifice or a planeswalker. So Plaguecrafter, good card. The next card, I can't believe Arguel's Bloodfast is not a more expensive Magic card. I feel like I remember when I first saw this card, and I feel like I kind of slept on Ixalan, to be honest, and I feel like I'm realizing, like, that was such a bomb set. Like, amazing, amazing cards. Like, one of the best sets, I feel like, at least that's come out recently. I really love a lot of Ixalan stuff. And I remember, like, seeing this card for the first time, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, this card, like, has to be, like, so much mana. Like, so much, money. And everyone was like, no. And I was like, this card should be more money than it actually is. It's so good. I love the fact that it's 2 mana. I love the fact that it's on a tap ability. You can do this as many times as you need to. Pay 2 life, draw a card. Super, super straightforward. The flip ability, I actually haven't really gotten there before with this card, and I run this card in multiple decks too. It's like such a good card. So I haven't really necessarily seen the flip side of it, like, but I have seen it on other people's sides of the boards, and it has impacted the game. When you have this flipped, and it's usually like, it's not like, oh, I keep using Arguel's Bloodfast and I'm dying because of that. Like, that's not really the case. You're using it and you're using your life source as a resource, which is great in EDH because you have so much of it. And then, you know, you're getting pinged by damage, you know, someone's commander is swinging at you, you know, the creatures are swinging at you, you're taking just a lot of damage, also from yourself, from this card, and then it's like you can use this flip ability once you get to -5 life to sack things. Now, it is a tap ability of the land, so it's not like something you can repetitively do, but that would be pretty stupid if it was. But if you do have a way to, like, untap this, I think it's good. I just overall think this card is so strong. I feel like it's a really, really good black card draw card, and overall I just really like it. Wonderful. The next card I want to talk about is Archeomancer, and I really like Archeomancer in EDH because it kind of has like a multi-purpose sort of aspect. And what I mean by that is you can get an instant or a sorcery back, which is really nice, and just a really good, like, this is a really fair card, but I like it because after you do that, you're kind of left with like a 1/2, which sometimes if you're playing like this in, like, especially like a mono blue deck, sometimes your creature base can be kind of like, especially if you're playing like a lot of like counter spells and like draw cards and you might not have like a lot of creatures. Like, this is like providing like that blocker, probably, maybe attacker, I don't know, that sometimes blue kind of like needs a little bit of like help getting there with, because I don't know, that I just found that like when I had like a mono blue deck like way back when, it just didn't have a lot of like oomph a lot of time. It just like fell kind of short on the creatures. There weren't a lot of creatures that I find. Now if you splash a color, that's obviously like a completely different story, but in my experience, blue tends to have the most underwhelming creatures that I found in that specific color. So I think that's kind of one reason I've strayed away from like rebuilding a monocolored deck. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. It was just not really my jam, but I think this is a really good card to include. I also run this card in Tasigur, and it's really strong. Wonderful. Okay, this card a lot of people don't know about, and that is Yavimaya Dryad. I love this card. There's a lot of cards that are really, really similar. You know, mana acceleration in green is like something you can do really cheap. But I love this card so much because the art for me is just stunning, and I have this card in foil, and it is like seriously like one of the most beautiful foils that like you'll ever see. Like, it is just absolutely incredible. And this card, honestly, it's actually like a really good mana acceleration, you know? It's like 3 mana, and like, you know, it kind of depends on like the way you want your acceleration package to work. Some people do the instants and the sorceries compared to like a deck like Tasigur, for example. I run a lot more creatures because I want the creatures in my graveyard, I want to recur them, things like that. So I don't really want like instants and sorceries like getting lands, if that makes sense. So this only gets you 1 land. However, it is a forest card. It can be any forest, which is really good. And it does enter the battlefield tapped. Also note, you can get this for someone else. So someone else can You may search your library for a forest card and put it on the play tab under target player's control. You can get a forest from your deck and give it to someone else if you're playing the politics game. Or if you're playing like a group hug deck or like something like that. This card totally works in there. Yeah, and it's got forest walk, so like honestly like this card can like beat hard in like early stages of the game. I'm not kidding. So that is Yavimaya Dryad. Kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier about the cards of removal, that, you know, EDH can be this more accessible format if you're running the right cards and you're running removal. Reality Shift falls into that category as well. I love Reality Shift. I've been playing with this card for a bit and I just really like it. It does a like, it's such a good card, and it feels like a very weird blue card in a sense, because blue is like mainly counter spells and things like that, but I just love exiling things. Like, just destroying is not enough sometimes. You just kind of gotta make sure that that creature is not going anywhere. And I pretty much guarantee, like, the manifest, like, it's most likely, hopefully, not as bad as whatever it is you are getting rid of with exile. And it's an instant, which I really like. It's 2 mana. Like, this is such a good budget card, and it's not even like a this card or this card, like, this is the budget alternative of this card. This is just like, this is a good card, like, you should run it in blue. Great card. And the last card we're ending on, I think, a pretty good note. We're talking about my friend Spore Frog. Spore Frog is just great. Like, I love that it got a reprint in Modern Horizons, which is really awesome, which means still gonna get my hands on a foil one. That's a story time. I don't know if I want to get into it in this video, but, well, okay, I'm just gonna do it now, because I said story time. I feel like I have to. So, whenever Modern Horizons came out, and then they announced like this card, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get a foil one finally. Like, this is great, because like the foil previously, I don't remember how much it was, but before it was printed in Modern Horizons, the foil was like egregious. It was like $40 or something, like whatever, because I think there was only like one other foiling. So when this came out, I told like every one of my friends, if you get a foil Spore Frog, it's mine, I want it. And meanwhile, the foil's like $1. No one opened it. I just want to say this is a common. No one opened it of my friends, so I never got one. Went to buy cards a couple weeks ago, added it to my cart, went to check out, it wasn't there. So it got removed because sometimes TCG, when you add one and there's like one left in stock, someone else like bought it, so it like yanks it from your cart, which makes sense. But I was like, oh, I feel really silly that I didn't double check that. So I still don't have a foil Spore Frog, and it's like $1. It's ridiculous. I just need to buy one. Anyways, irrelevant elephant. Sorry if you didn't want to hear that story. But, yeah, like, I don't really know, like, what words to, like, talk about this card with. It's just a really good Magic card. Like, you sack it, prevent all combat damage. This card is so annoying to recur. Like, if you have a way to, like, infinitely recur this, you basically just stop everyone from doing anything. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a really, really good card. So that is it for 10 more budget EDH cards for you. We all love a good budget. We all love saving some money. And some of these cards, you can get the foil for under $1. So that's the best part. Like my video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.